Hey, this is David for Big Bits, and in this video I just want to give everyone kind of an update on the channel, do some TA, and if there's anything else I can think of, we'll talk about that. But first, I wanted to discuss some of the things going on the channel. We passed 2,000 subscribers not long ago, so thank you if you are one of those people, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do. But other than that, there has been a lot going on. There's been a lot of work behind the scenes. You saw in the last video one of these scripts was featured that I did. I've been working on some code for some more scripts, and I kind of showed you some of that yesterday. But the last giveaway had ended and that person was paid out, and I've created a new one, and I'll show you that one in just a little bit. I believe I will have the link for that in the description of the video below, and if you missed yesterday's video about that featured script, that will have the answer to the question in the giveaway for this particular question. And then of course I'm going to change those periodically, so I'll update everyone on that in just a little bit. I'm kind of losing my voice, just a moment. All right, excuse me. All right, so you can see we're only 6 days away or so from the halving event, and this is pretty cool. And if anyone tells you that the halving is priced in, it's only priced in by people who actually know about it and have participated in it and haven't just been speculating. So people who are just trading coins back and forth, they're not really priced in. I've done a whole video about this before, but the inflows and outflows are going to completely change because all the miners who are collecting these newly minted coins will not have as many to sell. So to say that this is priced in, there's a complete shock to the market when it comes to the supply. There's going to be less new coins into the supply. So there's no really way to tell how it's going to impact things. Now in the past, the prices went up immediately after back here, and on the second halving it kind of went down before coming back up. So just depending on how things go, it might go down or up, of course, but in the long run you would assume that since there's less new supply coming in, and if the inflows and the money coming in stays relatively similar, the price will go up because the inflows will then start to outweigh the outflows. So that is something very good to look forward to. I can't wait to see this. This is the first halving that I'll actually kind of bear witness to. I've known about it well before, but I didn't really get into Bitcoin until the very beginning of 2017, which wasn't long after the previous halving, but I was able to enjoy much of the 2017 rally, unlike a lot of people who joined in kind of late that year. But kind of going on from there, I do want to take a look at some TA. Now this is the Bitcoin chart and this is the S&P, so we're kind of looking at stocks on the right side and we're looking at Bitcoin on the left. Now it's been an absolutely amazing run. It's kind of hard to believe that the price could go all the way down to 3.8k and bounce up to like 9.4 and almost 9.5 in a matter of weeks. But you know, that's completely in the realm of possibility for Bitcoin. Now stocks have been doing something very similar, and I've been keeping an eye on them as well. But as far as Bitcoin goes, some of the things that I'm looking at on the daily chart are this 100 moving average going under the 200, and I mean the price is really gonna have to jump up quickly for the 100 to no longer be forecasted to cross under the 200 daily moving average, and I'm not sure that's going to happen, but I'm also not sure that really matters because a lot of times these crossovers, they don't really mean a whole lot, but they do. These lines do often serve as pretty good measures for support and resistance. Now with the stocks, you can see these moving averages, the 50-period moving average is starting to take out some of these older candles back here, and we're going to be using lower values. So it's going to continue going down until the price of the newest candles are, well, generally when the price of the newest candles are going to be greater than the price of the candles that are being removed. And that's mostly because it's been in an uptrend since then. It was a little bit more volatile. That might not be the case, but you'll notice in the last video I did point out, I believe it was in the last video I did with the TA, that there was this sort of ascending wedge, and at the time it was like right here, and I didn't think it would go past the 50, but it did, but it rejected immediately, and I kind of thought it would continue to go down here back to the bottom band, but amazingly enough, it came right back up and almost touched the 200 and the 100, and I have a feeling that based on some of the other indicators that I use, like the stochastic and the RSI and stuff, that it may continue to stay in this range for a while, especially because the Bollinger Bands are a little bit tighter now. I'm not sure it's ready to go under there yet, but like many people, I am kind of expecting a pullback. The stuff, I mean, all the news in the economy has been absolutely ridiculous. It's hard to believe that stocks can continue to go up without some sort of pullback to actually test some of the people who went long. So essentially, when you're looking at this chart and you're thinking about it as a market maker, and we can also do the same thing with the Bitcoin chart, and my head's kind of in the way over here, but you'll get the point. Let me move it over. That might help. Okay, so what happened was there was this huge flush over many, many days and weeks, and the price of both Bitcoin and stocks went down. Now, ever since then, the price has pretty much went straight up, minus, maybe a few days here or there in the meantime. So what's happened is anybody who went long on the bounce has continued to be in profit. So pretty much everyone except for anyone who bought 2 or 3 days ago over the last 3 or 4 weeks is in profit now. So if this is truly a bear market and this historic collapse is going to prove to be the start of a depression or a recession or whatever, you would assume that the most bullish people wouldn't be rewarded so well and it continue to move on up back to where the previous highs were. Now I keep looking at the 100 and the 200 again as a potential stop for it. I thought that might have been close enough right here, but it's hard to say. And like I said, the same thing goes with Bitcoin. Like if you longed it anywhere since that crash, you're in profit. Even before that, there's only a couple of days where you could have purchased and you've lost in like the last 2 months. It's kind of crazy to think, especially considering the prices were just 3.8K not that long ago. Now I want to switch to a weekly chart because there are a few things I want to show you here, particularly on Bitcoin, but also on stocks. So with Bitcoin, the weekly chart, we finished above the 50 weekly MA, and that's really good, but it's still kind of within this kind of margin of error of how it's closed kind of closely to the 50 moving average. So it could very well come back down, but it is also closed above the weekly mid Bollinger Band, which is usually a good sign that the price will continue to move up. You'll see when that happened here, it closed above the weekly band. It came back down and tested it, but it went back up to the upper band. And this is a pretty common trading strategy when it comes to Bollinger Bands, so something to kind of be mindful of as well. And you'll notice back here as well, when it closed above the mid band back in March of 2019, it rode those bands up for a very long time before coming back down below them. And it did do it a couple of times during the bear market, and that was during 2018. So it's kind of hard to gauge that, but if these trends continue, this might be another very good sign. And of course, our 50 is still above the 100, and our 100 is still above the 200, which is a pretty promising sign, especially considering the halving is right here on this particular vertical line. So pretty much, I believe this Sunday is when the halving is going to occur based on just what I'm seeing right here. But that's incredible. But you also have to realize we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 green weeks in a row as of right now. So it's kind of hard on these charts to maintain that, but you'll notice it kind of did the same thing back here as well. So it's good, but it's definitely something you have to be wary of, especially when some of the daily indicators are just kind of ridiculous, or there hasn't been a pullback since. And I fully expect there to be a pullback to these particular moving averages, but at the same time I also thought they were going to prove a bit of resistance, but that price just shot right up through them like it didn't matter, kind of how it did when the price shot up past 6,500 when we were below it back in 2018. So back here we thought that this very large point of control with the volume, it's going to be huge resistance, and you'll notice the price just cut right through it. So that could kind of be something similar with these moving averages. They don't always have to act as support and resistance, but if there is a pullback, I would expect it to be down into this range. Now, let's see. I want to go back to the weekly chart because I wasn't done. As far as the stocks go, it's very similar, except it is stuck behind its 100-week moving average. And one of the things I wanted to show here, and I might not have, you might not have been able to see this earlier when I showed you on the daily chart, but there looks like there could be a potential for this to turn back down on the weekly chart. So if we close under the 100-week moving average on the S&P, I think there's a pretty good chance that that downward turn, that pullback, does occur. And if the 200-week holds, then maybe prices will continue to bounce, especially as the economy looks to be opening up a bit. But if the 200-week doesn't hold, then there's really no telling how low the prices could go at that point. Although I believe it's the Dow, I'm looking at 15,000, and the S&P, I think the worst case that I was looking at personally was around 1.5, and now that would be amazingly drastic, but when you think about it, it's only a little bit over 50%. So those kind of moves have happened before. And let's see, what was it, 3.4 all the way down to 2.1. So we're actually pretty close to it. That's probably what, 35.5%. Yeah, but anyway, that covers S&P. As far as Bitcoin on the weekly chart, we're up above that. I did want to look at some of these other indicators. Now with Bitcoin, it doesn't have that same potential bearish look that the stocks do. And pull this back over here so you can see this with my head on here as well. But the stochastic is still trending up. Stochastic on stocks, kind of flatlining. It's going to have to really pump the rest of the week on stocks to get it to kind of match Bitcoin. Smooth RSI, it's fairly similar, honestly. The stochastic RSI, very similar to the stochastic in this situation, but the big difference right now is the MACD, and that is with Bitcoin, the MACD has already flipped into a positive situation where the MACD is above its signal line, which could signal a trend reversal for the bulls. So we got that going for you on Bitcoin. However, with stocks, it has yet to do that, and you'll notice a lot of times when there's these very sharp movements on the MACD, a lot of times when it approaches the signal line, it will reject or confirm very quickly. So just something to keep in mind from my perspective. Now, none of this, of course, any sort of trading advice. I'm not even telling you what to do, but I definitely don't want you to think that I am either. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for Bitcoin and stocks right now. Now, I did want to take a look at maybe Ethereum, Litecoin, and basic attention token right now. So let's take a look at Litecoin. I don't know why I did it versus Bitcoin, but okay, so it's actually having a red week right now. That's interesting. It's very similar to Bitcoin, and you'll probably notice this amongst all of them. But with Litecoin, it's not above its midweek Bollinger Band, and it's below all of its moving averages, so it definitely doesn't look as good as Bitcoin, especially considering Bitcoin's going into its halving very soon, and I believe the Litecoin had its halving around this time last year. So definitely I think Bitcoin's in much better shape in this position. And that would also mean when you're looking at Litecoin versus Bitcoin that I would think that these lows would continue. And that's very unfortunate for Litecoin, especially if you hold that. But I wasn't expecting to open the chart and see that it was this bad. There's really no telling where these are going to stop out at. There's probably not enough history on this chart, but there's probably some sort of support on some of the older charts. But I want to look at Ethereum now. Now, Ethereum is very similar to Bitcoin. In some aspects, it's above its mid-Bollinger Band on the weekly chart. It's kind of in between some of these moving averages, but what's very key is that it's still below its 200-week moving average. And let me remove the Bollinger Bands here and see how far back. okay, we don't have enough price data to see the 200 weeks back, but the 200 week is still moving up despite a lot of prices here recently actually being below. So if it breaks that 200, that'd be a very good sign. But for the most part, it's of course very similar to Bitcoin. I would imagine it moves very similar to Bitcoin, although I imagine Bitcoin would outpace it if there's any big moves coming up. And you can see it's kind of been gaining over the last several weeks, but things don't look too well right now. Potential MACD cross down, stochastic pointing down, and the stochastic RSI. Excuse me, I keep hiding those behind me. The stochastic moving down, the stochastic RSI and the stochastic are both pointing down now. So hopefully that mid Bollinger Band or the 50 will hold some sort of support if you are trading it versus Bitcoin. Now, the final one that I really want to look at, that I always kind of keep up to date on this channel, is Basic Attention Token. Mainly because I use Brave. I always use Brave on the channel. So let's actually see. This is similar to Litecoin's chart. It is trading below its weekly moving average. Its MACD has flipped up, this is pretty much the exact same as Litecoin on the chart. So let's see how it's doing versus Bitcoin. However, that might be a different story. So it is similar, although it is not making new lows. I could see it having a trip downward as the MACD tends to be pointing downward here. Hopefully, if you're trading this versus Bitcoin, you will be looking for support around the lows because it's below all the key moving averages and the mid Bollinger Band. I could see this continuing to drop. Yeah, but the good news is that a lot of these indicators have been pretty low. So even if it does continue to drop, I think it could be due for a bounce within the coming months. Probably a decent one as well. Now, let's see how... Yeah, we've pretty much covered everything. I don't really want to go into anything else. I've been recording for a long time now. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry I'm kind of going on. But the giveaway, you can see that posted, and that should be in the description for the video. Otherwise, check out the TradingView profile, sign up to the referral link, all that good stuff. If you like this video, you like the TA, just like the video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. That helps a whole lot. But other than that, I think I'm done for now. Hopefully I'll have some more good updates for you in the near term, the short term future. And just have a nice day.